言語違うと伝え方こう。
My friends, I am so happy to report episode number 1 of Sign of Affection was not a fluke. And I know you might be like, well, of course it wasn't, Dom. Like, what the hell are you thinking of, bro? And here's the thing, my friends, boys and girls. Episode 2 was as good, if not better, than episode 1. And I have one nitpick with the show. Outside of that nitpick, though, I think this is just a beautiful show to watch. Like, I love everything that it's doing. And this episode introduced Oshi, something like that, and introduced a childhood friend. And in the flashback or memory of our girl, kind of like remembering how she grew up and everything, I was expecting him to come into the show as the childhood friend, and I was expecting them to actually kind of like show us where he was, where he came from, how he was a childhood friend, and all this other stuff, right? But we know that Yuki described him to Rin as a childhood friend. So I'm wondering if that means high school. I'm wondering if that means middle school, if that means family friend, if that means like where does she meet him exactly? But regardless, with that fact outside of it, this episode was cute and adorable. And by the end of it, Yuki was saying that, yeah, is she crushing or is she in love with 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻? And she confirmed to her friend, like, yeah, it's love. And it's just a beautiful show to watch. Like, most shows that do someone's first love, most anime that do someone's first love right, is typically a great time. But this one adds a layer of just like, it adds that extra layer of complexity with it, with our main character, being deaf, and not only just being that, but seeing the world through different eyes, and then showing you, the viewer, that world within her eyes. And I think that is what's so beautiful about this show is she's describing to us, like when she's talking to Oshi, she was like, he has such pointed movements, but she was like, but within those pointed movements that he has, his fingers are like frail, and she knows that within his like really getting into it, she knows like he really cares for me, and he says things, but he's saying it because he cares. And I like how she's able to make that, to make that distinction, to make that jump just based on someone's movements. Then she describes later on in the episode, she was like, okay, every time that, like when 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻 was doing like the little like movements, she was like, well, every time that he does like these little movements, she was like, the way that his fingers are, the way his fingers point, they stir something up inside me. And I was like, that's such a cool concept, right? It's like, you have to think of like, your crush, you're like, think about like your crush or like one of your first loves, or maybe your current love, whatever it is, right? You have to think about that, that boy, that girl, that man, that woman, whatever. Like, you have to think of like, when you think about them, what gets you all flustered and stuff. Is it, there is usually like the way that they act. Most of the time is their voice, their inflections, their tones, maybe something specific that they said to you. And maybe it is something specific that they said, but those things that they said come with all those things behind it, come with the tone, and come with the voice, and come with the feelings and all those other things. It's like, well, in her world, it's slightly different. It's still being what's said, but it's more about what's being conveyed through natural feels and natural emotions, and then the poignancy of the finger movements and being able to stir those feelings. Like, it's just such a cool concept to me. And obviously the writer or the creator, like I said in episode 1, has to be very familiar, either them themselves, or deaf, partially deaf, or maybe they have a loved one, a sibling, a daughter, a son, a wife, a husband. I don't know who the creator is specifically, but you imagine that they either are or have someone close to be able to convey such a really cool story. And I think about other stories like and this is far apart, right? But I think of another story like My Dress Up Darling, where that show conveyed the doll making and cosplaying. And you have to imagine the creator of that show has heavy interest in dolls and or cosplay, because the way they were able to depict that world is that's that world. And the way that it's being depicted here, it's depicting this character of somebody who was kind of like not shut off, but like kind of like caved in or kind of isolated from the grander world. And when you isolate someone like that, the thing that they want to do is get out there to the actual world. And that's what she craved so much. And she describes when she saw college life, like, this is what it looks like on TV and blah, 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 blah. And she just craves that outside world. And even her friend Oshi was like, not being able to hear and stuff gets you in trouble, and like it makes you think of like, well, you should just be in this bubble protected. But that's not what she wants. She wants to make the mistakes and the everything else that comes with it. So I just think that is just such a cool notion, and that's such a cool concept and everything, just to be able to show us this accurately. Then we get to see her, falling in love and the things that come with it, and it's a beautiful thing to see, and it's being done very, very well. The spicy stuff is I can't wait to see what happens with Oshi. Obviously, he cares for her a lot. Is it love? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's very hard to say with somebody who maybe has been friends with somebody who learned sign and learned to be in their world a little more. Is it romantic? It very well could not be too. I mean, like, Oshi could very much just not have sympathy or empathy. Maybe it's empathy. I don't even know. Like, he could just see her as a really good friend, like a sister, like family, and he just wants to protect her like a brother would. It might not even be romantic. Of course, because this is a romance show, you have to assume that it is, but it could very well not be. And I guess that remains to be seen too, so that's a little spicy. Can't wait to see what happens there, but obviously he doesn't like 𝐒𝐚𝐬. Okay, my one nitpick, I saved it for the end. The nitpick is 𝐒𝐚𝐬 himself with the backpacking stuff. Like, no matter how many $2 hostels you stay in, traveling across the world as a student is very, very expensive. And unless 𝐒𝐚𝐬 has one of two things, either his family is loaded and has a lot of money, or he has a job that's able to finance his trips to Laos on a Tuesday or Cambodia on a Wednesday, or Vietnam on a Sunday. Like, unless he has a job to fund that stuff, it just doesn't happen. I've been a college student. Guess what I had to do during college? I had to work full time, and I had to work 2 jobs, and it's expensive. And even if he got a full ride to school, like, let's just say he got wherever his college or uni is, like, let's just say he got a full ride. Okay, the plane tickets are what's really expensive. Even if you get the the Expedia discount flyer miles, blah blah blah, it's expensive. It's expensive. You know what I mean? And I don't like that part of the story. His whole backpacker motif, carrying around big ass backpack around the college campus, blah, blah, blah. It's so, I hate it. And it's unrealistic. Anyways, that's it. All right. See you guys next week. Peace out, my friends.